Alright, in this lecture we're going to talk about color coronas. Now, a color corona is when an extremely bright light source, such as a setting sun, or it doesn't even have to be super bright, just bright relative to its surroundings, so maybe, for example, a street lamp or a flashlight, they will be surrounded by a colorful ring of light, okay? This is called the color corona. It's typically pretty saturated, and if you look in a lot of photographs sometimes, this is also represented as lens flares or a bunch of like circular transparent shapes or hexagons that are in a photograph. So if you were to take a photograph with the sun in the background, you might get a lens flare. And that is just the technology's way of interpreting the color corona, okay? And we can see this in real life when we look at things that are really bright. So for example, in this picture, you can see the color corona is this area all around here. And you can notice that it's even overlapping the tree, right? We know that the sun is behind the tree, obviously, but the color corona is strong enough that it's going to alter or affect everything that's within its radius, okay? So that includes these clouds right here, that includes the sky, that includes these trees. Okay, and even down here on the bottom of this grass, it's getting affected as compared to the grass over here. Okay, so that's color corona. This can even occur at night though, it doesn't just have to be the sun. So if we look at this, on any relatively strong light source, there's going to be a color corona. So you can see here around the street lamp, there's a little tiny glow of orange from the lights, and it goes all the way down the line. You can see it on both sides even. Okay, that's a color corona. Now, it seems like a really small detail and maybe something that's not very important, but doing this not only adds realism to your image, but it makes your lights look much brighter, and it can even get to the point where it makes your audience unintentionally squint at the image because it feels like the light is so bright, even though it's just a painting. I'm going to show you a way to achieve that, how you can paint that, and I'm specifically going to do it with, we're going to paint the sun into this picture. I'm going to show you how to create an effect that, if you were to go outside right now and look at the sun, which I don't recommend doing, you'll probably go blind, but if you ever have accidentally looked at the sun or anything, you might notice that there's kind of like a bluish green after image afterwards that kind of flashes in your vision. Or even if you walk outside after you've been inside all day and it's dark inside and the sidewalk is really bright, this might also happen to you, right? Things are really bright and there's almost like this weird bluish green after image, right? So if we can incorporate that into our paintings, we can get that effect without actually blinding anybody. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm going to start by creating a yellow, bright yellow circle, right? This is going to be our sunlight, okay? And are going to be our color corona. So I'm going to start with a hard brush and just plop it down right there. I'm going to duplicate this layer, turn one of them off for now, and the bottom one, this is going to be our corona, so I'm going to use Gaussian blur and just blur it out so it's not quite so strong. And then our layer above it, we'll turn that on, and I'm going to go ahead and shrink it just a little bit because I don't want it to be quite so big. And now, instead of just leaving it yellow or even making it white, right? Because right now our sun is the same color as the color corona. We're going to do an optical illusion here, and it's going to make it feel like the sun is way hotter and way brighter than it actually is in this image. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and select both these layers and just blow them up a little bit so they're bigger so you can see what's going on here. Alright, so for my hard sphere layer, my hard circle, right? You can see we have the corona and we have this ball here. The ball layer, what we're going to do is select a new color, and we're going to go to the greenish blue range and select a super light, almost white greenish blue. Okay, we're almost in the corner. It's not quite white, but it's very, very close. Okay, and we're going to drag and drop this into our sphere, and let's go ahead and make it a little bit wider. Almost there with it. Let's try that. That seems better. There we go. Alright, and look how hot it makes that sun feel, right? It's almost overwhelmingly bright. Let's go ahead, I'm going to duplicate my corona layer, and I'm going to lighten up one of them a little bit just to make sure we got it bright enough. And we'll up the saturation a bit too. Let's make it a little bit more orange while we're at it as well. Okay, so you can see here, I'm going to lower the opacity just a little bit, the sun feels super, super hot now. And it is almost creating that illusion of that after image effect, right? When we look at it, it almost feels like we need to blink our eyes a lot or look around because it's burnt into our retinas when really it's not. And then we did that is by creating subtle contrast between the corona and the actual color of the sun. So by making that sun a very light, cool, grayish blue color, right? When that's contrasted with the warm, bright color corona around it, it creates an optical illusion in our minds that makes us think we're looking at that same after image effect we get when we look at a bright light source in real life. So doing this is a really awesome way to really make your image seem like the sun is really hot and really bright. Now, be careful to use this sparingly, right? You only want to do this if you want your scene to feel like the sun is really powerful and really bright. If you're in a more subdued setting or overcast or something like that, this isn't going to happen, and it probably won't happen with really hardly any other light sources besides the sun. You're not going to see this on street lamps really, or glow sticks or cell phone screens, stuff like that when you're painting an image. However, I do recommend making your color corona a slightly different color than your light source. Typically, not always, but typically, the color corona shifts a little bit warmer than what the actual light source is. So for example, the light source here is like yellowish light, but the color corona is a reddish orange. Same with our sunset. The sunset is really bright white yellow, but the corona is orangish red. Right, so if you have a blue light source, your color corona is probably going to shift a little bit towards green. Keep that in mind when you're doing color coronas and putting them into your picture. And just if you have some pictures you've already done, maybe consider going back, creating a new layer on either screen or overlay, and just popping in a soft airbrush over some of your lighting to really help push it. If you have a blue light, throw that on top of it to really help make it feel like it has that color corona or that glow around it. And it'll really help bring your paintings and your images to the next level. See you guys in the next one.